Life is like a book. It's full of chapters and full of stories. My time as camp hosting is like a chapter in a book not yet written. And remember, most of your best memories haven't happened yet. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Yeah, we're still here in the campground. We're here for, like I said, a few more days, probably another 4 or 5 days. We'll move on to the next campground to spend a few days. But just want to come back in here and say that I've got one more project left for working on the campground, and then after that I am free. I'll be off the payroll. So, and that's, I'll show you that when I get to it. It's just one campsite that needs a little bit of a border put around it. But we're going to do something in between after the time here and the time we leave, probably on Sunday or Monday. I don't know. I don't have a schedule. So whatever day I feel like leaving, and we're going to try to improve the campground on my own time for future campers. And it's something that I can do here that you really won't see the results of for several years. So we're going to show you here in just a minute what I'm talking about. One thing I'm going to do, like I said before I leave, is I am going to plant some trees. I'm going to do a little bit of arborism. And you know, an arborist is a person who takes care of, maintain, and the health of a tree. Well, I'm just going to transplant a bunch of them because, as you can see over here, this is where my old campsite was. There is trees up on the hill way up there and one way over here, but there is not a tree in this whole area unless you get further up the hill. So I'm going to plant a couple trees. I've already got one planted. I transplanted one about 3 weeks ago, a fir tree. And let's see if I can find it here in the grass. Here it is. So we'll keep an eye on it for next year when we come around. But there it is, a little fir tree that I planted. I transplanted, so it looks like it might make it. It's been there, like I said, about 3 weeks. I'll keep it watered, and there it is again. So hopefully it eventually will take over and provide some privacy for a lot of things and shade, because there's really not much shade. And there's as a few campers, well, several campers have mentioned over the time, that as down in the campground, it's pretty wide open. So we're going to walk down there in a minute and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But yeah, this is the great place for some trees. I'm going to try to plant some fir trees and some aspen trees. Aspens are a little harder to transplant, but we're going to see what happens. But there's a lot of space that can be used for some trees. There's one I tried to transplant, but it didn't make it. It was just a branch off of one that I broke off down by the ground. I thought it might, but it didn't. But that's all right. And I got one down here, right there. It looks like a little pineapple. Zoom in here. Look at that. I don't know if that's going to grow or not, but that's what it was when it fell off the tree. So I stuck it in the ground and added water to it. So we'll see next year when I come back if this actually grows or whether it's a dud. But anyway, it's marked by this stake right here, so I'll know to look for it. And if nothing pulls it out of the ground or eats it, maybe it'll take a chance to grow, because, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of space for trees that used to be here. There's a lot of old tree stumps back here, and there was hundreds of more trees in this area, and they're all gone. You know, they've been killed off for the beetle infestation, or just disease, or just died in general, but or maybe cut for profit. I don't know. So we'll go look at the other side. And here's what I was mentioning about there's no privacy between campgrounds. We do have a tree there and one there. They're probably about, I don't know, 6, 7 years old. They grow about close to 2 feet a year, the fir and the spruce tree. So, but if you look over here, there is a campground there, or camp space there, and about, I don't know, 6 feet away, there's your neighbors. So there's no privacy. And if you got an RV sitting right here, they are just on top of the neighbors. And so maybe planting a couple of trees through here for the future generations. It'd make it at least, a little bit more concealed, a little more private. It will cut down on the view of the lake from people, but I think they'll be okay with that. But I won't be around probably to find out. Here's another one. This is the same way. This has some trees in the back, but there's a couple of trees there that are coming up, probably about the same age, 6 or 8 years old. And right through here, camp pad, and then right down there, RV pad, tent pad, and then right past that is, guess what? Another camp site, just another 20 feet. And that's got one tree that's leaning, but it doesn't have much privacy and very little shade. And we're just going to see what happens. I mean, if the Forest Service, or somebody doesn't like it, I guess they can cut them down or stomp on them or something. But I'm just going to transplant some trees because I've got access to them. Back behind my bus, which is now back up there, are a lot of trees. But back behind, I call it a nursery. I'll show you here about what it looks like. There are just, I don't know, loads of little trees, probably a year or 2 year old, and just way more trees than probably will survive in that one area because they're underneath the big trees. So we'll look at that. And I'm also going to try to plant my own seeds from fir seeds and spruce seeds and see if I can grow some saplings and bring them back next year and see what that does. I mean, heck, I'm not out any money for anything because everything up here was, free. The seeds are all over the ground, cones everywhere. I just got to put them in little Ziploc bags, little peat moss, and we'll explain how that works here when I get to that point. But right now, this is pretty wide open. So we'll see if we can do some future generations, give them some trees and make it look kind of like the upper loop. The upper loop is very wooded. You still have a view of the lake, but you also got a lot of privacy and shade. Here, the sun's about to go down. It's about 6:30, and once again, there's been no shade since 9 o'clock this morning. So if you're out here in a tent or something, you're getting pretty warmed up by the sun. Well, that's my plan on that part. So we'll go on and I'll show you what my next project is I've got to do for the company, and then about what we're going to do on transplant and growing some seeds. All right, here we are, campsite 5. Zen is off leash and he is getting tired because he's having to run a lot more since he's getting a lot more exercise being off leash and being on leash. But here's what I've got to do for the company. This area through here, this is one of the best sites in the camp right now. It's just like beautiful because it's right on the lake. But Forest Service wants us to, all this gravel through here, kind of rake it down and put some big boulders in here so keep people from trying to park on it. So we'll be trying to finagle some rocks in here that are manageable. And I've got one in here already, and I'll try to find some more off the beach and just make it everything look good. And I can use this gravel in here in other places because this is pretty good sized gravel, so it'll be good for some other things. And I need to work on that probably. A little erosion control there. That may wait till next year, but once again, we'll see. And then, like I said, yeah, this is the best view of the lake. And I'm going to go through here. My next video will probably be next video or two will probably be I'll go campsite to campsite, number by number, and show you everything that's on them, what they look like, where they're located, the numbers, etc. So if anybody ever wanted to come here, they would have a view of the campsite before they even showed up. But I did this down here. This is a little erosion control. That was a log that somebody had burned, and I took it over here and rolled it up on this washout area and backfilled it. So hopefully the next rain or two, it'll keep it from washing down, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, here's kind of like I said, campsite 5. Zen's been so tired running around, like I said before. He's back up at the bus underneath it, already in the shade. He's resting. But that's our new campsite. We went to the top of the hill in the trees, and it's pretty nice. I'll get you some pictures here in just a few moments, a video of the area, but you can see what I've got to look out over. This is a beautiful campground. There he is, back up here resting in the shade. Like I said, this freedom is wearing him out. He's not used to running so much. Well, this is the view kind of behind me from my new campsite. Pretty nice. I'm enjoying it. So I'll be here, like I said, probably another week or close to it. But I'm going to enjoy it while I got the peace and quiet. And now I turn from camp host to camper. But, you know, I've got my own private campground. That's the best thing about it. I'm the only one here. Well, not quite the only one here. I've had some people walk through. And just a few minutes ago, before I got back up to my campsite, I had a couple Australian men walking through. And they were told that the campground was open and they were out of water. Well, we just drained all of our water this afternoon, so we had no water in the system. So I got some water out of my water tank, and I filled up the water bottles for them. And they were very much appreciated because they were walking, backpacking somewhere up in the mountains, and they had no water. So this is a, you know, definitely must. You need water. But let's go look at the secret garden, the nursery, as if it is, of the pine trees, fir trees, not pine trees. So let's go walk back here into the woods. They're back here in the woods. Let's go look. You want to go with me? You can go. I think Zen will go because it's not that much of a walk. We're going to walk back in behind and we'll show you what I'm talking about in the tree section. This was pointed out to me by a camper that was here a few days ago, and him and I were talking and about trees and things, and he does tree planting and seed germinating on the side as a hobby. So he came back, he said, boy, back in that trees, there's hundreds of little trees that are just going to die if they don't get moved because they're under all these massive trees. So there's a lot of seedlings. And I don't know what that was. That was been here for many, many years, but a fire pit, maybe? A grill? Toilet? Any or all the above? All right, let's go down here and look. I think we've got to go this way. Well, I'm not for sure. Oh, I've got to go up this way, I think. Yep. I'm lost in the woods. I've only been back here once, and it's my own campground, so I don't know what's back here. I think we go this way. Yeah, and up this way. For some reason, yeah, here we go. Look at all the cones on the ground. I mean, these are just pine cones like crazy back here. Look at them all. There's piles upon piles of them. And someone else had a fire pit at one time, but back here is the nursery. Like I said, these are probably 1-2 years old. But everything you see on the ground, like those, and that bunch there, and all these scattered through here and around and up here, and all these trees, little ones coming up, they're ready for transplanting. They should be transplanted pretty easy, but underneath all this canopy of everything, they might grow, but then again, they'll be so choked out, you know, they'll need to be thinned out. So we're going to try to maneuver these trees, or a few of them, out of the ground and over to the other side I mean, look here. This is the itty bitty one. Look at that one. Just a little bitty guy. Oh, there's another one there. And I think they're all off this root system, which I see run to the ground. So it may be a little challenging, but then again, it might work. So we'll see. But there's trees everywhere back here that need to be, like I said, probably be used. And if I give them another life out in the shade, I mean out in the sun, and maybe they'll provide some privacy and shade for others down here by the lake. And one day they'll look like those trees. Part of nature, they grow and then die. It's life. You know, the meaning of life is just to be alive. So and one thing I'm going to try to do, as I mentioned, I'm going to try to plant and germinate my own trees. And I've got a bunch of seedlings that broke off the top of a white fir in one of our last big winds. As a matter of fact, broke off this one right here. The very top is missing about 7 feet of it, and it was loaded with pine cones. It looked like this. This is what they look like on top. Just loaded with pine cones. And when that broke off, it landed in the ground right here. So these are all pine cones that are just broken up, and they're just, get in here and see better. Oh, it smells like sap. But these are all thousands upon thousands of seeds in here. Each of these petals has this little seed on it. And so these are what squirrels and chipmunks and other rodents that crawl on the ground and in the air like to chomp on. But there are a lot of them in here. So I'm leaving this here to see, maybe next year they'll have a few seedlings grown up. I moved a bunch back over behind the old camp where the bus was, and see if they'll grow. You know, it just depends. They'll naturally germinate and grow in about 150 days from what this man said and what Google said. So in about, 5 months, next spring, they may come back and do their own thing. But we'll see. But here's another tree with that. They're kind of, it looks like little birds sitting up there. Look at the sap dripping off of them. These are really sappy, and all those seeds that are on the ground, you couldn't even, if you touch any of them, you're just like glue. They would stick to everything. But yeah, that's the white fir. And over here, and I'll show you some seedlings on just a moment. Zen didn't follow me into the trees. I think he was tired. So what we're doing is, on the seeds, we call something called stratify or stratification. And what I've got here is a dog walking by, but what I've got here is a couple cones off a white spruce tree. And that is actually this tree right here. Did you notice they're different from the white fir trees? Because these hang down and the white fir trees stand straight up. So that actually, I know that's the real thing because I picked it off the ground right below it, and it's a different kind of cone. But what we're going to do, what we do anyway, you can soak the seeds, which each one of these is, like I mentioned, each little petal is a seed underneath it usually. And you can soak them for 24 hours and then break them all off or break them up before you put them in, depending on how dry they are. And then you break them up and put them on it and let them dry for a little while, let them get good and dry. And then you put them in a wet, this is a bag here I've got. I got 4 bags of these, and these are the white fir and you take the little seeds, which you can see one right here, and the shelters, there's a bunch in there, and you put them into like a bag of moist peat moss or some material that will be, moist, keep moist. Put them in a baggie, put them in the freezer drawer of your refrigerator for 30 to 40 to 50 days. And what that does, by being cold, it kind of shocks them into the dormant stage in like the cold winters. So that helps. And then after about 40 days or so, I can plant these in another planter. And after about 10, 20 days, they should germinate and grow. And if they do, I'm bringing them back here next year and plant them. So like I said, these didn't cost anything on them, just out the price of a little bit of peat moss in the bag. But other than that, you know what? We might be able to grow some trees. But then again, there's my view. Isn't he the cutest thing? Yeah, that's a view from my campsite. I mean, I got trees in the way, but I got shade, but oh, it's nice up here. It is nice. So, this is the view. Oh, I want to show you this too, real quick. Fall is in the air, as you can see right here. Look at there. Quaking aspens are starting to turn gold. I've seen 3 or 4 trees with gold leaves starting to come on them. So they are getting ready to start their shaking. But yeah, that's just right behind me. So these are all aspen trees everywhere, and then pine trees everywhere, fir trees, spruce trees, just a lot of trees. But it's good. I like trees. It's kind of like what Bob Ross said, when he was painting. He spent, many years in Alaska in the woods and things. He said, just go out and talk to the trees. Communicate to the trees, talk to them. Because, one thing, they don't talk back. Not a bad idea. But people may think you're crazy because you're talking to trees. Well, and you can, that's far. Anyway, we're going to go on and say, you can look at the trees and you can see if they, like Bob Ross said, this little tree had a hard life. You can see where a bear stepped on it or too much snow and it broke off, and you can see them everywhere you go. They're not all straight. They don't grow straight up and down. They grow at an angle. They get bent. That's nature. That's part of it. So, that's going to do this video, I think. We're going to make it kind of short because tomorrow we're going to start moving some trees around and planting some trees and see how that works. So we'll end this video here and say thanks for watching, and I hope you got a little bit of information off the trees. I'm not a certified arborist, so this is just what conversation with a camper, and I read on Google. So go out and let's go plant a tree. Thanks for watching.